Why did my dad's work emergency text lead to me discovering our family's biggest lie? Dad texted me at 11 p.m. saying he had a work emergency and needed me to grab some files from his home office. He was supposedly stuck at the airport with a delayed flight and his client needed contracts first thing Monday morning. Mom was out of town visiting her sister in Denver for the week, so I had to use my spare key. I drove over to their house in my pajamas and slippers, annoyed but trying to be helpful. Dad had always been there for me through everything, so the least I could do was grab some stupid paperwork for him. The house felt eerily quiet without Mom bustling around. I went straight to his office and started looking through his massive oak desk for the Morrison client folder he mentioned specifically. I checked every single drawer, every filing cabinet, every stack of papers on his cluttered desk. Nothing anywhere. I called him back, getting more frustrated by the minute. Dad, I can't find the Morrison files anywhere in here. Try the bottom drawer of the filing cabinet behind my desk, he said. His voice sounded weird, shaky, not like his usual confident tone. I already looked there twice. There's nothing. Maybe check the safe behind the bookshelf then. That was really strange. Dad never kept client files in his personal safe. That was only for family documents and emergency cash. But I moved the heavy bookshelf and opened it with the combination he taught me years ago for emergencies. Inside were family documents, birth certificates, insurance papers, social security cards, and a thick manila envelope with my name written on it in his distinctive handwriting. Not typed or printed, handwritten in blue ink. My stomach dropped instantly. Why would my name be on an envelope hidden in a locked safe? I opened it with trembling fingers. Inside were adoption papers. My adoption papers. Dated 3 years after I was supposedly born to my parents naturally. My hands were shaking uncontrollably as I read through everything. My birth mother's name was Rebecca Martinez. She was only 16 when she had me. My biological father was listed as unknown. There were hospital records from a town 2 hours away that I'd never even visited. According to these official documents, I wasn't born at General Hospital like my parents always told me every year on my birthday. I was born at St. Mary's in Riverside. My birth weight was different than what Mom always said proudly. Even my exact birth time was completely wrong. Everything I knew about my own birth was a total lie. I heard the front door open suddenly. Dad walked in carrying his suitcase, saw me sitting on his office floor with papers scattered around me like confetti, and his face went completely white. You weren't supposed to find those tonight, he said quietly, setting down his bag with a heavy thud. So my entire life has been a lie, I said, holding up the adoption certificate with both hands. Rebecca Martinez is my real mom. I'm not even your biological son. Dad sat down heavily in his leather desk chair, suddenly looking much older than his 55 years. We were going to tell you when you turned 18, then when you graduated college, then when you got married. There was never a right time for this conversation. The work emergency was fake, wasn't it? I said, pieces clicking together. There is no Morrison client. You planted this so I'd find these papers. He nodded slowly, tears starting to form in his tired eyes. Your birth mother reached out last week through a family lawyer. She wants to meet you after all these years. I panicked and didn't know how to bring it up after keeping this secret for so long. I stared at the papers in my hands, trying to process everything hitting me at once. She wants to meet me. After 22 years of silence. She never stopped thinking about you for a single day, Dad said, his voice cracking with emotion. We have letters she wrote every year on your birthday without fail. I kept them all in that envelope. She sent pictures of herself so you'd know what she looked like when you were ready. She followed your high school football games through the newspaper sports section. She knew when you graduated college with honors. My mind was spinning like crazy. She's been watching me this whole time from far away, from a distance, respecting our legal agreement, but never forgetting you existed. I looked at this man who raised me from age 3, who taught me how to drive stick shift and helped with my impossible homework and came to every single one of my games, even when he was exhausted from work, and realized he wasn't my dad by blood, but he'd been my father in every single way that actually mattered. Can I see all the letters she wrote? I asked quietly. He smiled through his tears, reaching for the thick envelope again, all 22 of them plus photos.